Hello guys, so we are going to create a replica of the Google homepage. This is the google.com and this is our copy or clone of the Google homepage, and this is what it's gonna look like. So we're gonna start creating our project, and then I'm gonna be using the sassy CSS. Navigate to the project folder and generate just one component, the home component, and I'm gonna installing the font awesome. So I'm gonna get rid of all the content and I'll have my home directive in here. And inside the home template, I'm gonna start coding my markup here. So I'm gonna divide the container into 3 columns: the header, the main content, and the footer. Inside the header we're going to have the navigations, and I am using the BEM notation of CSS just to avoid conflict in class names. And it's good when you want to nest your style when you're using the sassy, the SCSS. This button, it will have a modifier of top because we are going to give it a different color than the other buttons that we're going to have on the page. In the main, the first thing we have is the Google logo that you need to download it. And in there I'm going to have the input, which is going to be wrapped inside a div with the class name of search. And I'm going to also have a font awesome icon of search or magnifying glass, and finally I'm going to have an image of microphone that I downloaded. So the container is going to be a display of flex, and it's going to be column, and the height of the page is going to be the height of the viewport. We want the header to have a height of 20% of the overall height. The nav represent the UL, so we're gonna get rid of the bullet point that we have. So the link, we're just getting rid of the underline, the text decoration, and when we have like a bottom black. and between the items we're gonna be having some paddings. So now we want to move the third element to the right. For that I'm gonna add a modifier class called stretch. Okay, so we're gonna use the margin right auto to pull all the way to the right. We will come back to the header later. Now we're gonna start working on the main section. And we want to use the flex grow. Flex 1, it means grow, so it is gonna grow whatever space remaining, and we want the items of this div to be centered. The only reason we're using flex on the surge is because we want them to horizontally align them. I will show you that later. So now let's just work on the width and some other properties to style the input. This is the modifier, so we're actually going to need a class for both of them, of icon. Now we want the text box to be 35 rem as well. That is 100% of width. The icon doesn't show. That's because we need to import the font awesome that we installed. Okay, now we're gonna increase its size a little bit. Let's say 1.7 maybe. We will change if needs to be changed. And we want it to have a light gray color. We also want to position the icons. So the magnifying glass is going to be more to the left, and the microphone icon is going to be more to the right. We also need to have a reference for the position absolute, so we're gonna have the relative on this surge class. I will just be changing some values to make it fit properly. That sounds good. Now I need to align the items by using the align items and set it to center. Now when we focus on the input, we're gonna get that ugly border, so we're gonna get rid of that by using the pseudo class of focus and set the outline to 0. Now we need, whenever we click on it, to have this new box showing up, and for that I'm gonna define a new div, and call it and give it a class of trending. Which is going to have an ordered list. This is an image shortcut. It will make your life easier. So we want to have some 8 text inside the item. And the lorem text is going to be of 8 words. And now we're going to add the button group. Now we're going to start styling the trending. As always, we're going to get rid of the bullet points by using the list style and set it to none. And we also want to increase the font size to 1.1, and we have some line heights between the text. So we trying to move the element to the top so it can reach up to the input search, and we need to have the same width as the input width as well, and having some box shadow and a border radius. Now we needed to move it more to the center. Actually, it didn't work, the margin top, so we're gonna place this margin at the top just to change the position, and that will work. Okay. Now when we focus on it, we want the input not to have any borders. I will show you why. Now let me define a property called focused, a boolean property, and initially is going to be false. We don't want to display the trending. For that, we're going to use the ngIf and set that property in there. So initially we don't want to see this element displayed. And inside the input, we're going to have 2 events. The first one is going to be the focus, and that's when the user click inside the input. We want to change the value focus to true, so it pops up and shown to the user. And the other event is going to be the blur event, and that will just do the opposite. When user click away, we want the trending element to disappear. We need to have the pattern group inside the trending element. We also need to have a divider, and I'll be having some style rules in here. You can copy it and pause the video. And I want the text align to go to the left instead of centering. Now I'm going to be adding the icon that we have, and then we're going to start working on the button that move the text up and down. This is just when we hover over the trending text. We want to have a light gray background color. And we want to set the icon before all the items. I'm going to use the background image, and I already going to be using an image that I found on the internet, and I set the background size to cover. It should be actually the before pseudo class. Okay, that look better. Now we need to have some shadow whenever we hover on the input element. For that we're going to use the hover pseudo element, and we're just going to use the box shadow. That's better. So the problem is when you hover it, when the trending is open, we're going to see that border. We don't want that, so we're going to set it is z index to a lower number so it doesn't get the focus. So now we're going to start working on this button.